sometimes as we get older, we don't always keep up our friendships as much, or maybe people aren't, maybe they've lost a lot of friends. People get put into nursing homes and they don't have as much contact with the outside world. It actually has a really detrimental impact on your immune system. So people who tend to get isolated and lonely don't live as long as they should. And loneliness plays a big role in terms of how people recover from health problems and disease, and it actually shortens your life. So loneliness is really not good.
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, the Going North podcast, where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new piece of inspiration or information to help you keep going north. Now let's get on with the show. Today's episode is sponsored by yours truly, Dominic Dom Brightman's wonderful book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Grab it on ebook, audiobook, or paperback book and share this gift to your friends, family, heck, even no matter what season it is, for that wonderful person in your life that needs to advance their next level in their career or just needs a quick pick-me-up to get through their day and beyond to thrival level. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast, and we got another super special, awesome human for you today because my goodness, we got a doctor in the house, y'all. We got a doctor in the house indeed because my goodness, I've been saying this a lot, but this podcast is like a magnet for super special, awesome humans. And today's guest is another one because my goodness, she is a board certified allergist and immunologist, as well as an integrative and functional medicine physician that works to empower people to reclaim their health through comprehensive lifestyle programs which focus on reversing chronic disease as well as creating optimum wellness. You heard that right, folks, optimum wellness. So let's give it up for the marvelous and heavenly Dr. Heather Moday. How you doing, Dr. Heather?
I'm great, Dom. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yes indeed, yes indeed. It's a pleasure to have you on the show indeed, because my goodness, congrats, because at the time we're recording this, you're actually number one in the Amazon rankings for your fabulous book, the new fabulous shiny book.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting. I hope it continues to do well and people read it.
Oh yeah, oh yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. That's right, I definitely consider because it's definitely a popular topic since it's all about the immune system indeed and building it up, making sure it's stronger than 8-pack abs. That's right.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
So my goodness. Well, as you know, all introductions aren't allowed to be 7 days long, so mind filling in any cavities I may have missed about you, Dr. Heather?
Well, let's see. So, this is my first book, so that's one thing, first time author. And I have been doing this functional medicine for about 7 or 8 years now. And, before I sort of started down that route, I was in the more sort of traditional realm of medicine, more conventional medicine. That was my background and training. And, I grew up on the East Coast and trained in New York. I trained in the Bronx, and that's where I did all my, medicine and allergy, immunology training, and then moved to Philly, a great city of Philadelphia, and started, in an allergy practice. And, it was good. It was challenging, but what I realized is sort of along the way that I wasn't really using a lot of the, I guess I wasn't really fulfilling my need of trying to help people live a healthier life. I mean, pretty much I was writing prescriptions, and that's not why I spent 4 years in medical school and 5 years training. So I got a little frustrated, but also a little curious, and started looking around to find ways that I could expand my toolbox of trying to help people. So that led me into integrative medicine, which is, as some people may not know the term, but it's really more of a holistic view of people's health. And then functional medicine is similar, but it also uses a lot of individualized testing, genetic testing, gut health testing, hormone testing. So we are able to really dial down as to, why people individually might be getting sick or having health problems. So that's what I started doing about, 7 years ago and continue to do today. And then the book sort of grew out of this idea that I wanted to sort of introduce people a little bit more to their own personal immune system. And I started seeing patterns in a lot of the patients I see. And so I came up with these 4 immunotypes, which are basically sort of like immune types, sort of patterns of how people's immune systems work, and sometimes patterns that put them into states of disease. So that's really what the book is about. And we sort of, try to help people figure out how they can balance their immune system so they can have better health.
Ah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, from the Bronx all the way to the land of the Philly cheesesteaks. That's right, all the way to getting all that wonderful experience and helping out folks to really get that good health, that optimum health, that supreme health, indeed. So, my goodness, you said you noticed a bunch of patterns. So, what are the major patterns that you discovered over those wonderful years of helping out folks?
So, in the people that I see a lot of people who come in with, for example, autoimmune disease. And basically, what autoimmune disease is, it encompasses a lot of um, a lot of different diseases. So there's about 100 different ones, and they range from things like multiple sclerosis or rheumatoid arthritis or psoriasis. And basically, what that is, all of these have, they're different, but they have a similar pattern in that our immune system has sort of gone awry and started attacking our own tissue, own cells. And so there's an underlying pattern to autoimmune diseases. And so I called this the misguided immunotype. So basically, the immune system is misguided. Still working, but unfortunately making some reactions against our own cells. And then, a lot of people coming in with allergies, which is, sort of was my bread and butter. And these people are not maybe attacking themselves. Their immune system is overreacting to things that would be considered to be sort of benign, not harmless really. So dust and pollen. But unfortunately, that ends up causing things like asthma, eczema, all sorts of issues like that. And so that's the hyperactive immunotype. And then the two others, one is called weak, and this is really encompasses the people who would come in and say, I catch everything that goes around. I'm sick all the time. I can't shake this. They might tend to just get infections really easily. And then the fourth are people who are sort of chronically inflamed. They may have heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, um, just a lot of inflammatory problems in the body. It can be driven by poor food choices or stress or lack of activity, etc. And these people fall into what's called the smoldering immunotype. So those are the 4 immunotypes that I created in order to really compass how all of us can sometimes, I guess, go off the rails a little bit.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's actually kind of interesting because I like finally got my hands on the book, and then it's like, wow, misguided immune system. It's like, wow. So out of nowhere, it's like, hey, it's kind of like that bad moment where it's like, oh, was the immune system drunk or something? Like, did it go to the wrong party and something got slipped in its drink?
Yeah, different things do make our immune system go awry. And not that we have 100% control over everything that happens to us, because we don't. And I want people to understand that, because I don't like people to think that, they should be blamed, right, for any health problems that come their way. But at the same time, we have more control over our health outcomes than than we know. And that's my message, is to sort of empower people to get to know what's going on underneath the surface, and like what things can they do to, really balance their immune system so that they don't end up getting sick, or they can reverse some symptoms.
Yeah, especially with some of the stuff that you listed. Heck, one thing I've noticed, Some even call him cousin or even Uncle Artie with the arthritis too. It's like, oh God, no. The arthritis on me. Ah, the shoulder. Ah, darn the bones. No. And of course the other things too, helping things to reverse. So my goodness, do you ever feel like you're a magician from time to time when you get to help people with these problems and really help them to feel better as opposed to feeling worse from those situations?
I wouldn't say magician because I don't think I really do any magic. But, I would say that, because, everyone is individual and sometimes the recommendations I make may not work for them. But, most of the time when people take recommendations to heart and start making some changes, they do over time start to feel better. And I think the thing that's so satisfying to me is working with people who then go, I've been doing what you've been saying, and I've been, taking this or practicing this, and slowly but surely I'm noticing changes. And the cool thing about that is they really feel, I think, a sense of, I did this myself, like empowerment, I guess, is the word. They feel empowered that they are not like a sitting duck and they were able to make positive changes in their life. So that makes me feel really good.
Well, yeah, I can say that again, because sometimes you can lead the horse to water, and they don't always drink. Sometimes it's like, hey, here's some suggestions. It might help you out.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us, we're human, right? So we want, it's like the proof is in the pudding, right? So as they say, like, some people are able to always take external advice and say, I'm going to listen to you, I'm going to do it. And a lot of people are more skeptical. And I think that's just, and that's fine. I think being a healthy skeptic is is something that can work. But I think sometimes you got to give yourself the chance, right? You've got to maybe do your own research, investigate, and then try things out, and also give yourself the time. I think that one of the things that I see is that in health and medicine is that everyone wants the quick fix, right? It's even when it comes to dieting and, that kind of thing, weight loss. Everyone's like, oh, I just want to feel better in 10 days. I want to lose weight in 1 month. I want to, reverse this. And they want to have a guarantee. And there's absolutely no guarantees in life and in health. And there's not a quick fix. So I think being able to invest in yourself and also give yourself the gift of patience and time and grace is really important. So, giving yourself 3 to 6 months to make changes and then see what happens, because a lot of times it sometimes takes that long.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Because you're so right. It does take time indeed. And I love, I I don't know why I feel like I've heard this for the first time, but being a healthy skeptic, because those two should go together. Don't just want to be a full skeptic all the time. That's bad for you. Be a healthy
No, yeah.
skeptic.
I don't think being a full skeptic is helpful to anybody, right? Because you're not letting information in and you're also, sometimes depriving yourself of something that could be helpful. So, but I do think I mean, I'm a healthy skeptic, right? I think that, there's nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, and I welcome people who, want to know a little bit more. But I do think that idea about like not having a guarantee is absolutely is important. Because like I said, sometimes you may take something up, whether it's a new nutrition plan or start taking some supplements or start meditating a certain way or whatever it is that you decide to do, changes in your life, and it may not work the way you wanted to, but if you give it enough time, at least you can say like, hey, I tried this for a while and it didn't really work the way that I thought it was going to work. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to sort of pivot. I'm not going to maybe say, oh, this, let's just say meditation doesn't work for me at all, but maybe I'm going to try a different meditation, or maybe I'm going to try a different way to manage my stress that might work better for me. And so it's really like you're not throwing out the whole concept. You're not giving up on yourself, but you are allowing yourself to try different things because again we're totally individuals.
Ah, you can say that again, indeed. That's right. Being open to trying different things, indeed. That's right. Especially when it involves helping you to become your best self ever. That's right,
Mm,
indeed. That's right,
yeah.
indeed. So, my goodness, my goodness. So, in these crazy times that we're in, especially with spring coming up, like, my goodness, and with all the pollen and everything else going on, any tips for boosting our immunity year round, especially if we decide to travel and put on some wheels?
Yeah, yeah. So, there's obviously different things that you want to think about. So, you know, for just in general, if you feel that you have maybe a tendency to get sick more easily, so, sort of fall more into this weak immunotype. And, for your listeners, if, you can get the book, which is called the Immunotype Breakthrough, and read it, there's a quiz in there that can identify your immunotype. But even if you don't purchase the book, you can go to my website and we have the quiz on the website that you can identify your type, and that gives you a sense. So just say you're someone who always gets the flu every year, or you frequently get sick. There are a couple of things that can be really helpful, and one is really, really super focusing on your sleep. So lack of sleep or poor circadian rhythm, and when I talk about circadian rhythm, I mean people who maybe stay up really late. They're on their computers a lot, using their iPads, using their phones, exposed to that, LED light. That's very disruptive to your immune system, actually, because when we sleep, our immune system is actually super active. Actually, a little bit of what we call a pro-inflammatory state, which you wouldn't think. But what I mean by that is that we are killing a lot of bacteria, viruses, we're making antibodies, we're sort of doing a lot of this work while the rest of the body is sort of quiet, right? So we're not up and walking around and thinking a lot and running or exercising. So it's a quiet time for the immune system to do its dirty work. And so if we don't have a good sleep pattern, if we're not getting, say 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every night, if we're not hitting those deep sleep cycles earlier in the evening, um, then that can really shortchange your health. And most people can identify at a time in their life that either they were like skipping sleep, maybe they were in school staying up late studying, or maybe they were out partying, or maybe they just had a newborn and they were up really late and skipping on sleep. And they might have said, oh yeah, I was getting sick all the time. And that's because of lack of sleep. So number one is control your sleep. Really work on having good quality sleep. Try not to be on your devices in the evening. I'm a big fan of using blue light blocking glasses to keep us in that, to prevent us from being exposed to that blue light. So we fall asleep more easily. We have deeper sleep. So that's number one, I would say, for everybody. I mean, everybody can benefit from that. And then also, there are some things that you can add through your diet. You can add through supplementation. Of course, you want to work on diet first before anything else. But, going into the spring, we start seeing more fruits and vegetables. But even now, you can add tons of antioxidants through brightly colored vegetables that contain a lot of vitamin C, a lot of beta carotene, a lot of vitamin A, um, and then definitely taking some vitamin D. So vitamin D is something that is really tough to get from food. And if you're like you and I, we live, in areas of the country that we have very short days up until, the late spring, early summer. And so we don't get a lot of vitamin D from the sun. And so vitamin D is such an important part of our immune system. It actually turns on and off a lot of genes that help us create, stronger immune cells, stronger antibodies. So I always recommend that people, ask the doctor to get their vitamin D checked and supplement if they need to. So those are just a couple of things that people can do just to make sure that they have all the resources, that their immune system can work pretty well.
Love it indeed, love it indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you're so right about that, especially with the sleep back even and the vitamin D. Like, like the nights where it's like, oh yeah, the cell phone. Yeah, I'll just keep it on. No, look at stuff like YouTube, funny video, whatever. And then
Yeah,
wake
I
up,
know
it's
we're
like,
sort
oh
of
god.
addicted to it, but it really does. I always tell people, like, give yourself a challenge of even just 2 weeks, right? Of turning off all of your electronic devices at least an hour before you go to sleep. If you can do 2 hours, even better. And just, read a book or do something different. Give yourself that time again to test it out. And then look at what your sleep quality is like. Like, do you feel like you sleep deeper? Do you wake up more rested? How do you feel the next day? Do you have more energy? Does your brain feel less foggy? So do that. And then you can also test it out by, if you do have some sort of activity tracker like a Fitbit or a Aura Ring or whatever you use, Apple Watch, different ways to track your sleep. It's amazing. You can see that your deep sleep actually increases. And deep sleep is the sleep that occurs usually before 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's that early part of the night. That deep sleep period will start to increase in, minutes. Um, and that's a time that our immune system is doing a lot of repair. So you can actually see the result of like removing some of this blue light, LED light. So then you get some proof, right? Like, oh, wow, I actually am making a difference in my health.
Ah, yes, ma'am, indeed. Yes, ma'am, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, folks. Get yourself some of them blue light glasses if you're in front of that evil screen, y'all. That's right,
Yeah, yeah,
indeed.
I'm a big fan. I wear those at night, because I understand that obviously some people have to do work, because of their job or whatever. So take out what you don't need, like you said, the YouTube, the Netflix, whatever. And if you had to do some work for some reason, you can buy those blue light blocking glasses. They have, they're inexpensive. I mean, they're really dirt cheap, and they're usually an amber color, and they block out that blue spectrum light, so you're only seeing more of the warmer spectrum of light. And what it does is it allows this hormone in your brain called melatonin to build up. And melatonin is something that we want to be at its highest around, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that is a really important hormone for our sleep, but also for our immunity. So really what you're doing is you're allowing melatonin to increase, because if you glance even into blue light, a computer screen for even a few minutes, it'll start blocking it.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know. It's really quite amazing. So,
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
do you wear
That's
blue
right.
light blocking glasses too?
No, don't actually wear them. I actually tried getting a pair of those clip-ons for the
Oh
blue
yeah,
light
uh-huh.
and tried those. And they've been working okay so far. Got them probably about a good week ago, but I kind of fell off after the first
Okay.
2 days because I keep forgetting to clip them on my regular glasses.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is I wear prescription glasses. And so to buy the true blue light blocking, and like I said, these are the ones that are amber. These are not the ones that just have like a slight tint for your regular computer screen during the day. And, to get prescription ones are quite expensive. So there's a company that makes just readers. So they're basically magnifying. So if I want to read at night, um, I just use these sort of magnifying or readers, um, to help me with close up reading. And those are relatively inexpensive. So even if you do have, you can buy the ones like you use, you can clip them on your glasses, you can wear them over your glasses, but you can also buy fairly inexpensive readers. So that's an easy thing for people to do. The other thing, which is, you know, um, something that people don't realize, is that when you first wake up in the morning, you want to do the opposite. You want to actually expose yourself to bright light. And this is another way to sort of turn off the melatonin and increase this hormone called cortisol. Cortisol it's our stress hormone. People think of that as a bad thing, but actually in the morning you want it to be really high. You want it to be at its highest during the day, and that sort of sets in motion a lot of systems in the body. It's actually very anti-inflammatory in the morning. And so when you first get up, you actually want to throw open your blinds, and your curtains. You want to expose yourself to a brighter light. And if you live in a part of the country that is dark, right, when you first wake up, or, say you're a person who has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sun's not up yet, you can actually use what's called a light box. Again, these are not expensive. I own one. I think I bought it for about, $40. You can buy them on Amazon. There's lots of different companies. You can search around. So if you look at light boxes, portable, what you want to do is you want to turn that on, and that gives you full spectrum light. So it gives you what you would get if you say were out in the regular sunshine. Now it doesn't give you vitamin D exposure, but it does sort of activate these hormones that are going to give you energy. They actually improve mood too. So a lot of people use these lights when they have what's called seasonal affective disorder. They get like the winter blues, the winter blahs. And a lot of people can identify with this, especially in the Northeast, right? That they feel
Oh, yeah.
tired, they feel not motivated, they feel lazy, they just want to, sometimes they feel a little depressed. So if you use this, I call them happy lights, but if you turn them on, you can just put them next to you while you're having your coffee or doing whatever you're doing, maybe for like 15 to 30 minutes. That is a great way to sort of also reset your circadian rhythm in the morning. And all you need, like I said, is 15 to 30 minutes. And it's a great thing to do. And so what you're doing is you're really sort of trying to keep your circadian rhythm very even throughout the whole year. Um, and that's a great thing to do for your immune system too.
Ah, sweet. Yeah, because funny enough, a colleague of mine, he actually had it's one of those similar like devices, and he kept it at his desk during the winter times. Like, dude, I need my sunshine. I'm gonna leave this thing on while I'm at my desk working. It was actually pretty interesting at first, and out of nowhere, like after he did, a couple other colleagues did it, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess they feel a little better afterwards. It did help their moods a bit, so they weren't as curmudgeonly.
Yeah, there is, they do recommend, a lot of psychiatrists recommend it for people who have, maybe they're not depressed the rest of the year. They feel better in the summer and the spring. And they just get into this, like, I call it slug mode in the winter. They don't want to do anything. They start craving, like, high carbohydrate food, Um, and a lot of times that has to do with the lack of light and the lack of these like feel good hormones. So, it really can help, and it's really not that expensive, and it's safe. It's something that anyone can try. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And you can also just get up and go outside if it happens to be a bright, winter morning. Um, like I said, step outside, walk the dog or just walk around your block and allow the bright sunshine to sort of reach your eyes, and you'll start to notice you feel better for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, that sunshine, that vitamin D. That's right, get those magical specs, y'all. That's right, she's giving you these tools, y'all, to equip yourself, y'all. That's right, so you can battle the evilness that is out there, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, so since you've been on this interview tour promoting the good work that you're doing, helping folks build up their immune systems and not go to
Hmm.
that bad party, so to speak, is there
Yeah.
is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
Let's see. It's I don't know if there's something wish I'd be asked more often. I would say that a lot of people um, don't necessarily ask me about the role that maybe their stress level plays. I think, you know, obviously we've been through several years of a very stressful global time. I mean, pandemic. And I think a lot of people talk about that in terms of mental health, how the stress of maybe being isolated from friends or family, contact, because humans are social creatures, right? So like the whole reason why Homo sapiens survived on the planet and basically took over was the fact that we were able to build community, communicate, build businesses, build towns, cities, structures, language. And we know that in the parts of the world where people live the longest and have the healthiest sort of outcomes in life, one of the strongest things, besides maybe exercise and their food choices, are the very important role that community and communication and relationships play. And I think in general, just with modern society, we've become very isolated. We tend not to prioritize our friendships as much. And I think that what the pandemic has really shown to us is that how important that really is. Especially for children growing up who, weren't able to be in school and start to have those, learn how to, build relationships. But even as adults, like we're like, oh, wow, like we're not in the offices anymore. We're not seeing our friends so much, our family. So we talk about it a lot in terms of um, um, how we feel, anxiety, depression, feeling disconnected. But it's actually really, really, really important for our immune system too. So, and we know this is the case in the elderly when, sometimes as we get older, we don't always keep up our friendships as much, or maybe people aren't, maybe they've lost a lot of friends. People get put into nursing homes and they don't have as much contact with the outside world. It actually has a really detrimental impact on your immune system. So people who tend to get isolated and lonely don't live as long as they should. And loneliness plays a big role in terms of how people recover from health problems and disease, and it actually shortens your life. So loneliness is really not good. So that's not a conversation I've had a lot with people, and I think it's an important one to talk about. So, myself included, I work from home, and although I talk with my team every day and I try to interact with my neighbors and stuff, it's not the same as when I was out one-on-one working with people, maybe in networking, seeing people more frequently. So I think it's something that everyone needs to consider, like how can I, reestablish friend groups? How can I get out there and, be part of my community again and be involved? So hopefully with the some of the virus levels lifting, we're seeing less of the Omicron variant. Hopefully we won't have another variant showing its ugly head. Um, but I think people should think like, okay, what can I do now to get out there and be part of my community and friends and see my family? Because that really impacts your health and your immune system.
Yes, indeed. The doc is right, indeed. The doc is right, indeed. Yeah, you're so right, because like the whole loneliness problem, especially in the
Hmm.
US of A too, is definitely huge. And like it's popped up in my feeds every now and then. It's like, wow, all right, that's actually kind of a good point, because sometimes folks get a little crazy. That would probably explain some of the folks driving on the road these days after the pandemic and everything else going on. And also, more importantly, you're actually right. Like the whole stress thing, like we always talk about it from the mental health, which is always
Hmm.
important, but never the whole body. So what are some of the negative effects of stress on the body that we should probably be more aware of?
Yeah. So, stress is such an interesting subject because a lot of people think of stress as something that happens to them, but really it's a response that our body creates in response to an outside trigger. So this is another area that we can create some control here. So, and I'm not saying that you can control necessarily things like I lost my job or my grandfather died or I had a financial problem. Like, so, you know, those things may be external to us, but they're going to impact how our body responds in a hormonal way. And then it puts us in a particular state. So most people may have heard of the fight or flight state, right? So that of hormones, and so you get an adrenaline surge, uh, which sort of gets us ready to fight or to flee, to run away. And when we go into a fight or flight state, we have elevated heart rate, we have elevated blood pressure, our blood sugar actually goes up, and all these things are protective. So they're there to allow us to maybe flee a situation or get out of a situation or to be ready for battle. So that was sort of like, if you go back in evolutionary times, that was very protective. However, we don't want that happening to us all the time, right? So, and many of us go into this fight or flight state constantly throughout the day for things that maybe aren't life threatening. So it's one thing if you're faced with, I always use the example of like, you're walking down the street, you step off the curb, you see a bus coming, you almost get hit by the bus, but it allows you to, your reflexes to jump, and you jump back onto the sidewalk to safety. Or let's just say you see someone coming at you who doesn't look very friendly, and you want to run away from them. So there's these episodes that you would need this, but many of us start having these stress responses just when things happen, like, okay, we open up a bill at home and we go, oh God, this is and we have the same surge of hormones. And if this happens day in and day out, the stress response starts becoming less protective and more harmful, because what it does is over time that cortisol starts to build up and it starts to damage our immune cells. It can actually create what we call leaky gut. So it can damage our gut cells, which are super important for our immune cells. And it can, like I said, increase your blood pressure. It can interfere with your sleep. So many things. So it's really the chronic stress that becomes harmful. And so this is where we can say, okay, when we're having, this thought, right? We see the bill that needs to be paid, or we have the bad conversation with our boss or whatever, or say we're, even just in traffic, which, of course is stressful. We can stop and say, okay, is this a life-threatening reaction? Like, is this a life-threatening situation? Do I need to feel this way? Can I reframe? So you can reframe the situation and say, okay, can I, take 3 deep breaths? Can I distract myself? Can I go write something down? Can I journal about it? Can I just take a moment and go for a walk? Can I do a quick 5-minute meditation to sort of reset my thoughts and my body? And it doesn't take much. I mean, like I said, it's 20 seconds really to reframe the situation, to sort of calm the response you're having in your body. And over time, if you practice that, it's like anything else. Like if you practice that response, it might take 20, 30, 50, 100 times. But then you rewire your response. Instead of going down that, like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, you go, yeah, let's sort of not go there. I know that this is not a life threatening situation. Let's go to that calm place. Let's take that deep breath. Let's reframe. Let's do a little meditation, whatever it takes. And then you start to relearn. You actually can rewire your brain to start having this more beneficial response. And this is where I talk about like practice. Like, don't give up on it. It might take 100 times, but you will succeed in changing the way that your body responds. And so over time, you aren't going to, even if you have a really stressful situation, you're going to be able to say, okay, this is not going to kill me. I'm going to get through this. And that's the way you're really going to help your immune response.
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Indeed, getting that shield even stronger. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed.
Absolutely. It is like a shield. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Feeling like a good old Roman gladiator. Just not all the time, though. Don't do
Not all the time. Yeah.
that.
It's sort of like, I like to think, everyone's probably seen Star Wars, right? I mean, I grew up watching like the old school Star Wars, but you got to think like Yoda, right? Or like or how they think in martial arts, right? A lot of the Asian martial arts, it's all about calm control, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Taekwondo, whatever. It's, you are in control of your body, you're in control of the space. And in Yoda's what Yoda always says is like, to Luke Skywalker, it's like you have the force inside of you, but you have to control it. You have to use it for good. Like if you allow other outside activities or people control the way you feel, you're not in control, right? You have to say, this person may think that, this person may say that, but that's them. That's not me. They're going to act the way they're going to act. They're going to say what they're going to say. I can't let that energy change my energy. So it's really a protection of your own energy. So yeah, it is sort of like a warrior, but it's the peaceful warrior, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. The peaceful warrior, indeed. That's right. That's right, indeed. Peaceful warrior, indeed. Peaceful warrior swag, indeed. That's right. That's right. Heather's been dropping the heat, y'all. That's right. She's been dropping some jewels, baby. That's right. That's right, indeed. Got that tennis bracelet of wisdom from this wonderful lady right here, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, a fun question I've been liking to ask folks, and since you got this new shiny book, your first ever book, your first ever entry into the business of immortality. If this wonderful book, The Immunotype Breakthrough, was a food item, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Um, hmm, a food item. So it would have to be very versatile and also very powerful. So, but also very obviously good for you, right? um, Gosh, a food item. I would
Chocolate cake.
say no, definitely not chocolate cake. It might be something like, obviously something that's got a lot of antioxidants in it, right? Because something that's like small, mighty, and powerful, but also sort of soothing. So, you know what? I'd say, what comes to mind to me is green tea. And that sounds really weird, but green tea is like one of the most powerful antioxidant. But the other thing is it has something in it called L-theanine, which is it's a very calming substance. So a lot of people will take L-theanine as a supplement, but it's also in green tea. And what it does is it makes you very it acts a little bit like not really a stimulant, but it gives you clarity of mind. So a lot of people use it to keep them calm, but also very clear-headed. So and it's been used for centuries, obviously, in Japan in the form of matcha. It's used in tea ceremonies, so there's different ceremonial grades. So it's very powerful. It has a lot of great health aspects to it, but it's calming, it's soothing, but it's also very powerful and it's also very beautiful. It's a beautiful green color. So yeah, I would say green tea is the book.
That's what I'm talking about, folks. That's right. So if you're into tea ceremony, pick up this wonderful book, y'all. It's good for you. And if you're not into tea ceremony, pick up this book anyway. Indeed, great tea. Drink it in, man. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in 2022 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh gosh. I I would say that above all else, always, always listen to your intuition first over anybody else's advice.
Yeah.
Because I think that, at least for myself, when I was 25, I was in medical school, and of course you just feel like you don't know anything, and you just listen to everybody telling you what you're supposed to do, and you think you're supposed to follow. You got to color inside the lines, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, obviously, you got to follow some rules, but I do think that probably throughout my 20s, I definitely sometimes didn't listen to my own intuition because I was like, oh, I got to follow the rules. I got to do what this person says. And, not that anything terrible happened, but I think that I probably would have, maybe had slightly different experiences that would have been a little bit better. So there's nothing wrong with listening to other people and really thinking about what they tell you because there's a lot of wisdom to be had by listening, having mentors, but at the same time, also going, does that really feel right for me? And, if something doesn't really feel right, then maybe I should not do that, even if someone's telling me to do it. So, yeah, I would say that would be the one big thing I would change is be really just always follow my intuition first.
Love it indeed. It's definitely solid advice, yeah, because intuition, like, that's that wonderful area of intelligence that really can lead you to the right path. Heck, even a couple past guests have said that before, too, because it's so darn true.
It is so, it really is. It really is. And, I think sometimes depending on how you grew up and, you know, how your family structure was and all that kind of thing, sometimes people are real rule followers and sometimes not. Some people are like, hey, heck, I've been a free spirit since I was 10 years old. But, I think that everybody can benefit from having that knowledge of living of several decades, going, yeah, I should have done that. I should have listened to myself. And um, so that's what I would say for everybody's a little bit younger is don't throw out good advice from other people. Think on it, but also just think if it resonates with you.
Yeah. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. Listen to the doc, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. That's right. The good doctor's giving some good advice, indeed, with all the O's out of a Cheerios box, y'all. That's right. Some good advice, indeed. And I know a lot of folks will benefit from this wonderful book and keeping up with all the wonderful stuff you're doing. So if folks want to do just that, what's the best way for folks to do so?
So the place that I am most active just posting things is on Instagram. So you can go to my Instagram, which is at the Immunity MD. And then also, if they're interested in finding out a little bit more about my practice, they can go to my website, which is www.modaycenter.com, and find out about some of our programs with our nutrition, coaching, and also working with me, if people are interested in that. And yeah, go from there.
Oh, well, there you have it, folks. Slide into the doc's DMs and be like, hey, I don't have an Apple. I come in peace. And be like, yeah, you rock. You rock, Dr. Heather. Love your book. Love your audio book, too. As I get to take some of your knowledge on the go and boost up my magical shield, my immune system, indeed, so it doesn't go to that evil party.
That's right, Tom. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, any parting words before we close up shop?
Oh, I just say, like, everyone be safe and healthy out there, and hug your friends and your family, and get out there and start reconnecting, and because that's what makes the world so beautiful, right? Is connection.
How's it going, you super special, awesome human? Since you made it to the end of this episode, it looks like you really enjoyed yourself. Since you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with at least 3 people in your network and tell them what you really liked about this episode. Heck, even shoot myself or the guest an email and let them know what you liked most about this interview so that way they can stay inspired to keep pushing out great work.